Welcome in to Anvil Saga with Arthur, the cutest blacksmith in all the land, also currently the loneliest blacksmith in all the land. Poor Arthur here has been abandoned by his apprentice who left because Arthur chose the English in the war between the French and the English. Which makes sense because Arthur is English, but that decision did not sit well with his apprentice, and when the English won their battle, mainly thanks to Arthur's 5 swords that were an absolute game changer, poor Ferris, our apprentice, left, and now poor Arthur is just struggling really hard. We are currently, after upgrading our stall, trying to get the new equipment in that came with the upgrade, and here at this point I'm just kind of moving the rooms around so that our second bedroom is upstairs. I don't actually need a second bedroom. I only have one staff member in there right now. We only have Arthur, but I believe we're going to get a second member, so I keep the second bedroom because it's going to be more hassle to try and build it and upgrade to it later than to delete it. And also we need it for the reputation because it helps us keep our reputation above 50, which is one of the requirements, and I'm sure that reputation is only going to need to get higher and higher as the game goes on. We turned the downstairs room into a workshop, but for that it does need the sharpening grindstone thing and also a table. We can't afford the grindstone at the moment because we're pretty poor, but we can afford a table, so I just pop a table in there so one of those requirements is met, and then kind of put Arthur back to work. Bless his little cotton socks. He is doing all the work of 2 people. If you've watched the previous episodes, you'll know we had a pretty good rhythm and we were actually able to make money pretty quickly, but that has gone down the wayside. Arthur doing all this on his own is actually really hard work, and it means that when he's sleeping, absolutely nothing's happening in the game, and it does feel like we've kind of taken a massive step backwards in the production, which is really frustrating. Obviously, we knew that there were going to be consequences to our decisions. Would I have decided differently if I knew it was going to lose me my apprentice? Maybe. Also, look at this guy that just appeared. So Arthur went to sleep, woke up, and there's a man begging at his stall. I don't know if that's something that came with the upgrade, but at no point in the game does it explain where this guy came from. So I don't know why we suddenly have a man begging at the stall. There doesn't seem a way to remove him. There doesn't seem a way to help him. Like, if he wanted to come in and work for me at this point, I'd probably take him because 2 men are definitely better than 1, and I don't have 2 men. But we crack on. Arthur works through, he does all his jobs that he can in order to get the money so that we can afford the grinding stone which came with the upgrade. And as you can see, this is just me adding it here because we can finally afford it. We plop that down, and this is where our major problem comes up, because I very quickly realized that as much as it's cool to have a new piece of equipment, Arthur can't actually use this piece of equipment. As you see here, we're just running through some jobs, trying to get our money back up, and somebody comes along, this lovely knight in his nice little helmet, and all he wants is us to sharpen something for him. But as the game tells us, none of our workers knows how to work this technology. Now, I took the job anyway. I assumed Arthur would just learn. Maybe he'd do a bad job of it, but he'd learn and figure it out. But no, Arthur won't even try. Arthur will not use the machine, which means that I can't do any jobs with sharpening, and I can't actually afford to hire any staff members right now who can do the sharpening. So I got this new tool. I worked really hard. Arthur worked really hard, and we have nothing. But we do have a new character appearing in the story, or should I say a character who hasn't been around for a little while, because Finley was in the tutorial, and Finley was a friend of our father's, and he's here to tell us that and to remind us how well he got on, and I think that's really nice. And it sounds like him and Dad were like besties, and he did a lot of work for him. Arthur clearly remembers Finley, which is cute. So, like, clearly it's like, hey, yeah, I know you. My dad loved you too. And you think it's going to be a really nice moment. And then Arthur asks about the daughter. And we remember there was a love interest in the very start of this game. That Arthur had eyes for the lovely Olivia, and we really wanted them to hook up. But unfortunately, this story has taken us through wars and barons and enemies and Count Dracula, and we'd kind of forgotten about Olivia. So now Arthur asking about her, Finley's going to say, yeah, let her know you said hi. And at least we know that the love interest, the lovely Olivia, is back in the game. And this is where Finley explains that this isn't just a social call, that actually he's here to do what sounds like a very noble gesture, and he wants to help out the peasants in the land whose fields are struggling, and he wants to provide them with the tools, and he wants Arthur to make those tools. Now, he's letting us know he's probably not going to pay us a lot for it, but it'll be a good job, and it's like a noble thing to do. And basically, once again, we get choices. Now, choices are getting harder because we know the consequences. Choices we made ages ago made us lose our apprentice, and we didn't even see that coming. So I have a proper look at this one and try and figure out what would happen here. Now, I figure with the sharp tools, I'd have to use the grinding stone, which I can't. So I pick the regular tools because I know I won't be able to deliver if I do it with the sharp tools, because we don't actually know how to use the grinding stone. I assume at some point I'm going to be able to afford to hire staff, but I don't know if that will be in the timescale to complete this job, and I don't know if it's going to work. Finley lets us know they're going to come back in a couple of days to check on the order, so we know we've got a couple of days to complete it. But we also know that it's going to be a lot of work, so we close up the shop and we just crack on. And it takes some time. Like, I use the word grind a lot, and it is a grind, because Arthur on his own has to mine, then he has to turn the ore into ingots, and then he has to make the tools. And when there was two of them, that job may have taken like a little bit of time in the game, but when there's only Arthur doing these jobs, it takes forever. He has to sleep, he has to eat, he has to get his jobs done. Constantly the church are trying to take our money, but we don't have a lot of money because we can't open the shop because we're trying to get these jobs done. And then a stranger appears. Now, this one is really cute. I have never played the games that this character is from, but everyone should recognize the guest from far away who has appeared, needing a sword, but not just any sword. And Arthur, of course, is like, hey, yeah, you want something special? I can sort that out for you. And apparently they want a sword that will never break, which I'm guessing is part of the lore in the story, but again, because I've never played the games, and please don't shoot me for never having played the games, I just, like, think it's cute. And then the requirements pop up, and I don't think about it at this point, and I take on the job, because I'm like, yeah, I can do that. That seems simple enough. All I have to do is this, like, get a sword, put a thing on it, I'll be absolutely fine. And Arthur's like, yeah, I'll just need a special alloy, not a problem at all, I'll get you sorted right up, and accepts the job. And then we realize the job requires sharpening, and I don't do that. So that's very frustrating. So when they return, how are we doing with the sword? And we have to let them down. And I hate it because I really want to be able to do the job, but I know that I can't because I'm incapable of grinding. And there is nothing more frustrating than that. I wouldn't have spent so long trying to get the equipment if I'd known I needed the skill. I could have spent the time getting a staff member with the money and then worked with that staff member to open up the shop, earn enough money to get the tool. And I'm so frustrated, like, honestly, that I didn't even think it was going to be a new skill set and that Arthur just wouldn't know. But the good news is Olivia's here. Wow, you've grown up so much since we last saw each other. How are you doing? How are you doing? That's what that was. You look amazing. Like, how cute is Arthur right now? Oh, I just want them to like live happily ever after. As soon as this story starts playing out, I'm kind of done with the rest of the storyline. I mean, I'm not. I want to know who wins, England, France. You know, I want the war to happen. I want the Baron to get his comeuppance. I want John Jack to get lost. But yeah, it's cute that Olivia's here. Olivia's talking about her dad, how her dad's trying to find her a proper husband, so there's a time crunch there because we need to start making some money so that we look like a proper husband. But Olivia's actually here to ask a favor. It is also not a social call, and Olivia needs a job because her dad wasn't 100% honest with us. So we were told we were making these tools as a noble gesture to help out the peasants across the land, and Olivia is telling us that isn't actually true, and her dad is going to sell it across the land and make a profit. Now, Olivia doesn't have any money, but Olivia wants us to help out and to give her some tools for the peasants in this local area. And of course, it's Olivia Yeah, of course we're gonna help her because you know we want to spend the rest of our lives with this peasant woman, whatever, I don't know, but we love her, so we accept the job and we offer to make the tools for free at a loss, even though we're trying to save up for a new member of staff, even though we're poor as anything and we're struggling like crazy. So all of a sudden we now have a new job from Olivia. We also still got the job from her dad. There's a lot going on, and then Olivia's all like, oh, I knew I could count on you, Arthur, which is great because that's what we wanted. We want Olivia to love us, but look at what she's asking for. Like, she wants us to do all this for free. Arthur's already out of ore. He's gonna have to go mining again. Arthur's the only person here, and now her dad's here, and her dad suddenly wants his tools. So obviously, thankfully, we'd finished them before we got Olivia's order, so we can hand them over. And we're like, yeah, sure, Finley, here, have your tools. They could use some sharpening, because we can't do that, because we're not skilled enough. So instead we just give him these blunt tools, and then he's like, I was expecting more, but I guess it'll do. And you're like, dude, you were my dad's best mate. Like, show a bit of love, compassion. I've been through a lot. And then again, make sure to tell Olivia, I said, look, like Olivia wasn't just here, conniving Arthur, acting like he's not in a business deal with the man's daughter, when the man's daughter was just here. Business first, though. Yeah, because that's what Dad thinks. Dad has no respect for his daughter. And then, because this place is just not busier enough, then the Baron rocks back up, and the Baron's like, hey, I heard you helped the English defeat the French. It's like, wait, aren't you a French Baron? I'm so confused about where this dude's alliances lie. And Arthur's just like, yeah, I did my best, I guess. I mean, I gave them 5 whole swords. If that helped them win the war, I'm a little bit worried about them, but we'll go for it anyway. And then Baron's like, hey, here's a sword. Put an inscription on it for me. Give me a moment to think about it. We welcome the valorous liberators of French oppression. This Baron is like the epitome of a kiss-ass. Like, he's just gonna suck up to whoever's in power. And Arthur's like, oh, I made you this sword. Yeah, I remember it. And then the Baron is like, plays this ultimate, I don't know, dick move. Wow, really? You recognize your own sword? And like, Arthur doesn't hear the sarcasm in his voice. And I'm a bit worried about Arthur because I hear the sarcasm in his voice, but Arthur's like, wow, what? You want me to be a court smithy? I am in, I am done. Sacking up this shop right now, I'll make you whatever you want. And then the Baron's like, dude, you're so naive. Like, if you didn't know this was your sword, like, I would let you engrave it. Like, that is like Smithy 101 to recognize your own work. So Arthur's like, well, you didn't have to be such a dick about it, sir. Okay, it's not actually what Arthur says, it's what Arthur should say. But the Baron literally laughs in his face, and then Arthur's all like, oh, great, that's what such a sense of humour you have, Mr. Baron, sir. I'm so busy with work, I get confused. I'm like, no. Arthur, you should have been a dick back. But now Arthur's clocked, he's figured it out, that the swords that we make for the Baron are actually gifts that he gives every time one of the lands switch ownership. He just sucks up to the new leaders. And Arthur's like, oh, I guess I'm going to be engraving swords for the next little while. But here's the problem. We have to, in order to complete the Baron's order, we have to order some polish. And then guess what we have to do to the sword, guys? Guess what we have to do to complete the Baron's order? Yeah, you guessed it. Anyone who's been paying attention, we had to engrave it, which apparently involves the sharpening stone. The grinding stone. Now, why you engrave stuff with a sharpening stone is beyond me, but the frustrating fact is that that is what's going to crop up. And I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you know where we were with this, but that is a skill that we do not have. We don't have that skill, so we're incapable of doing that. We also have the problem that we now have a lot of work and not a lot of time. Poor Arthur down here is still mining. He's only got 20 ore. That's not even going to get him close to making enough stuff to make Olivia's order. Olivia's order has a time frame on it, and I'm panicking that we're going to run out on that because the last thing I want to do is let Olivia down. But poor little Arthur here, he's like, I'm only one man. I am only one man, and I had an apprentice, and we had a rhythm, and it was all working out really well. And I just like to think that Arthur's probably sat there crying a little bit. The guy's tired, the guy's hungry, the guy's doing all these jobs. He got this reputation when he had his apprentice, and it was really the two of them working together. But now he doesn't have an apprentice, and Arthur's all alone, and he's trying to do the job of multiple people, and it's just stressing Arthur out. Like, I don't want to be Arthur in this situation. I feel for him. I'm sorry for him. Oh, and then guess what happens? Yeah, somebody else rocks up. Somebody else rocks up and wants us to make 5 more swords. Because apparently the English and French are going back to war again. So now Arthur's got another job on the table. Arthur can't make any money at the moment because his job card is full. He can't complete the jobs. He can't afford a member of staff. We re-rolled to try and get a cheaper member of staff. But once again, we're struggling because we can't actually open the shop. So we're just in all sorts of trouble, if I'm 100% honest. We open the shop thinking maybe we can take on some jobs, but we can't take on some jobs. Is Arthur going to complete any of these orders? Is he going to make any money? Is he going to get a new staff member? Like, what does the future hold for Arthur? Find out next time.